Good morning, dear learners. How are you doing today? Well, I hope that you're all well and doing fine. Welcome to another session of Valenzuela Live. For today, I am going to be your live streaming teacher. My name is Serenier Concepcion. This morning, we will be discussing about the technical terms used in research from the module crafted by Sir Wilfred A. Tatoy of Malinta National High School. But before we start our session for today, I would like to give you simple reminders as we go about our virtual class this morning. Number one, prepare your module, pen and paper. Well, pen and paper just in case you need to write down notes. Second, observe courtesy and respect while the Valenzuela Live is going on. Third, key in your name, your section, and the school where you come from for your attendance in the comment box below. And lastly, raise your questions, if there are any, during our question and answer portion later after the discussion. For today, our most essential learning competency is to distinguish the technical terms used in research. We will be zeroing in these specific objectives. First, get familiar with technical terms used in research. And lastly, give expanded definitions of words. Are you ready, dear learners? In the beginning of this video, you were informed that our topic is about technical terms used in research. But before we discuss these terms, it is imperative that we define what research is. So, in your opinion, what is research? Well, research can be defined in different ways. First, research is an art of specific investigation. It is a careful and detailed study into a specific problem, concern, or issue using the scientific method. And also, it is regarded as a systematic effort to gain new knowledge. Well, according to dictionary, research is a careful investigation or inquiry, especially through search for new facts in any branch of knowledge. Research is an organized and systematic way of finding answers to questions. It is systematic because there is a definite set of procedures and steps which you have to follow. There are certain things in the research process which are always done in order to get the most accurate results. It is organized because there is a structure or method in going about doing research. It is a planned procedure, not a spontaneous one. It is focused and limited to a specific scope. And research finds answer because finding answers is the end of all research. Whether it is the answer to a hypothesis or even a simple question. Research is successful when we find answers. Well, sometimes the answer is no, but it is still an answer. Well, the next question in your mind would be, why do we conduct research? Well, research is conducted to evaluate the validity of a hypothesis or an interpretive framework, to assemble a body of substantive knowledge and findings for sharing them in appropriate manners, and to generate questions for further inquiries. Now that we have defined what research is and why is there a need to conduct a research, it is time for us to discuss the different technical terms that are used in research. This time, you will help me figure out these terms. We will call this activity OMG. What? Here's what you need to do. The definition or examples will be flashed on your screen. With the help of some clues like letters in the beginning, middle, or at the end, I want you to help me identify each term. You will be given 5 seconds to key in your answer in our comment section below. Ready? Let's go! First one, it is a piece of academic writing that provides analysis, interpretation, and argument based on in-depth independent research. 5 seconds to key in your answers. Time's up. The answer is very good. Research paper. Good job. Next one. It is a short summary of your completed research, intended to describe your work without going into details. Should be self-contained and concise, explaining your work as briefly and as clearly as possible. Well, 5 seconds to key in your answer. Time's up. The answer is, you got it. The answer is abstract. Congratulations. The next part of the title and the abstract, it leads the reader from a general subject area to a particular topic of inquiry. It establishes the scope, context, and significance of the research being conducted. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Alright, time's up. What's the answer? The answer is correct. The answer is introduction. You guys are very impressive. Well, introduction establishes the scope, context, and significance of the research being conducted by the following. Summarizing current understanding and background information about the topic. Stating the purpose of the work in the form of the research problem, supported by a hypothesis or a set of questions. Explaining briefly the methodological approach used to examine the research problem. Highlighting the potential outcomes your study can reveal. And lastly, outlining the remaining structure and organization of the paper. Let's proceed with the next term. It provides an overview of sources you have explored, including books, scholarly articles, and any other sources relevant to a particular issue, area of research, or theory that demonstrate to your readers how your research fits within a larger field of study. It provides an overview of current knowledge, allowing you to identify relevant theories, methods, and gaps in the existing research. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Okay, time's up. What's your answer? Yeah, that is correct. The answer is literature review or review of related literature. Congratulations. Here's the next term. A statement of expectation or prediction that will be tested by research, commonly known as the researcher's intellectual guess or wild guess about the possible result of the study. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Time's up. The answer is hypothesis. Good job. For a simple trivia, what do you think is the difference between hypothesis and hypothesis? Correct. Hypothesis with an I is used if it is singular, and hypothesis with an E is used if it is plural. Well, let me give you a sample hypothesis. On your screen are two photos. The first one is sleeping, and the other one is studying. Our sample hypothesis here is quality of sleep affects academic performance. Here is another example of a hypothesis. People who eat a lot of candy are more prone to cavities. Well, I hope from the given statements you're able to understand what hypothesis is. Shall we move to our next term? Well, that's great. It is a systematic method to resolve a research problem through data gathering using various techniques, providing an interpretation of data gathered, and drawing conclusions about the research data. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Time's up. What do you think is the answer? Great. The answer is methodology. The aim of methodology is to ensure valid and reliable results that address the research aims and objectives. It is where the researcher will decide, number one, what data to collect and what data to ignore. Second is who to collect it from. In research, this is called sampling design. Number three, how to collect it. This is called data collection methods. And lastly, how to analyze it. This is called data analysis methods. Next one. This is the entire group that you want to draw conclusions about. In research, it doesn't always refer to people. It can mean a group containing elements of anything you want to study, such as objects, events, organizations, countries, species, organisms, etc. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Hold up. Time's up. What do you think is the answer? Great job. The answer is correct. Population. Here is our next term. A smaller part or subgroup of the population. The specific group within a population that you will collect data from. The group of individuals who will participate in your study. They are the ones who will answer surveys or interviews. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Time's up. The answer is sample. Impressive. Now, why is there a need for sampling? Well, basically there are 4 reasons why sampling is necessary. Number 1, because of necessity. Sometimes, it is simply not possible to study the whole population due to its size and inaccessibility. Second, for practicality. It is easier and more efficient to collect data from a sample than a population. Third, cost effectiveness. There are fewer participants, laboratory, equipment, and researcher costs involved. And lastly, manageability. Storing and running statistical analysis on smaller data sets is easier and reliable. In choosing samples, you have to remember that there are 3 categories. We have respondents, participants, and subjects. Let us differentiate the 3. Well, for respondents, they are the ones who answer, respond, reply to questionnaires, and usually they are under quantitative research. Participants, on the other hand, participate and answer questions in qualitative studies, example, for interviews and focus groups. They generally give much more detailed answers than a respondent would in a survey. And lastly, subjects. The people in the researcher's experiment and usually in quantitative research. Example, in a medical experiment, the control group of 10 subjects did not receive the medicine, while the experimental group of 10 subjects received the medicine. Subject is a term used more in science. Let's have the next term. Any factor, trait, or condition that can be manipulated, controlled for, or measured in an experiment? 5 seconds to key in your answer. Time's up. The answer is variable. Let's discuss it further. Well, basically, there are two common types of variables in research: the independent variable and the dependent variable. Independent variable is an experiment that is changed or manipulated, assumed to have effect on the dependent variable, while the dependent variable is the variable that responds to the changes, the variable being tested and measured, dependent on the independent variable. Earlier, I gave a sample hypothesis. Quality of sleep affects academic performance. Our variables are quality of sleep and academic performance. Which among the two presented variables is an independent variable, and which is the dependent variable? Our independent variable here is the quality of sleep, while academic performance is our dependent variable. Why? It is because sleeping is the variable that we can manipulate or adjust to find out whether the quality of sleep affects the academic performance. Academic performance, on the other hand, is our dependent variable because it responds to the changes. Let us say, if you have a good night's sleep, your performance at school improves. But if you don't have enough sleep, you find it difficult to focus on your studies. Next, any tool that you may use to collect or obtain data, measure data, and analyze data that is relevant to the subject of your research. The format may consist of questionnaires, surveys, interviews, checklists, or simple tests. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Time's up. What is your answer? That is correct. The answer is instrument or research instrument. What makes a good research instrument? Well, a good research instrument is one that is validated and has proven reliability. It should be one that can collect data in a way that is appropriate to the research question being asked. The research instrument must be able to assist in answering the research aims, objectives, and research questions, as well as prove or disprove the hypothesis of the study. It should not have any bias in the way that data is correct, and it should be clear as how the research instrument should be used appropriately. You are doing well. Actually, very well. Here is the next term. It is the main instrument for collecting data in survey research. Basically, it is a set of standardized questions, often called items, which follows a fixed scheme in order to collect individual data about one or more specific topics. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Hold up, time's up. What is your answer? The answer is questionnaire. Good job. Next one. Any information that has been collected, observed, generated, or created to validate original research findings. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Time's up. I guess this one is very, very easy, right? The answer is correct. The answer is data. Congratulations. We are almost done. This next term is the section of the research paper where the authors provide the data collected during their study. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Time's up. What is your answer? Great. The answer is results. Next one. The section of research paper whose purpose is to interpret and describe the significance of your findings in light of what was already known about the research problem being investigated, and to explain any new understanding or insights that emerge as a result of your study of the problem. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Time's up. The answer is discussion. Very well. The discussion part has 6 objectives. Number 1, reiterate the research problem or state the major findings. Number 2, explain the meaning of the findings and why they are important. Number 3, relate the findings to similar studies. And number 4, consider alternative explanations of the findings. Number 5, acknowledge the study's limitations. And lastly, make suggestions for further research. Here is the next term. It is intended to help the readers understand why your research should matter to them after they have finished reading the paper. Not merely a summary of your points or a restatement of your research problem, but a synthesis of key points. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Time's up. The answer is conclusion. Great job. Take note of these several key goals of conclusion. First, restate the research problem addressed in the paper. Second, summarize your overall arguments or findings. And lastly, suggest the key takeaways from your paper. We're now down to our second to the last term. It is the last page of a research paper that lists all the sources you used in your study. It gives credit to authors you have consulted for their ideas. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Time's up. What is your answer? The answer is, you got it right. The answer is reference. Here is our last technical term for today. It serves as a space for materials that help clarify your research, but do not belong in the main text. This is where researchers attach a copy of their research instrument, such as interview transcripts, questionnaires, or surveys. 5 seconds to key in your answer. Time's up. The answer is appendix. Congratulations, you really did a great job. Well done. And I'm very happy that you were able to identify the technical terms which are commonly used in research. If you got most of the correct answers, can you hit the heart reaction? Wow, that's really, really impressive. Once again, congratulations. Let us wrap things up. Let us define what research is again. Research is a process of systematic inquiry that entails collection of data, documentation of critical information, and analysis and interpretation of that data or information in accordance with suitable methodologies set by specific professional fields and academic disciplines. Again, What are the technical terms that are commonly used in research? We have abstract, introduction, literature review or review of related literature, hypothesis, methodology, population, sample, variable, instrument, questionnaire, data, results, discussion, conclusion, reference, and appendix. At this point, if you have any question about today's session, you may key in your question in the comment section below. You will be given 60 seconds to type your questions and our teacher moderator will be gathering them. Your 60 seconds starts now. Here are the questions from the comment section below. From Parada National High School. Can we replicate a research? Well, actually, this is a good question. Research can actually be replicated because it can be repeated by other researchers, as long as its methodology is sufficiently detailed. Another question is from Justice Eliezer de los Santos National High School. Do researchers need to be objective when conducting a study? Well, let's first clarify several principles that guide an answer to this important question. A procedure or outcome is objective only when its truth or reality conditions are met without bias, being introduced by an investigator either inadvertently or intentionally. Scientific objectivity refers to a researcher's ability to make judgments without partiality or external influence. Thus, a lack of objectivity can occur when an investigator's research naivety or when their prior beliefs or perceptions influence the outcome of their study. Objectivity is sometimes used synonymously with neutrality about the outcome of an investigation. This last question is from Gente de Leon National High School. Does research have an impact on people's lives? Well, definitely yes. There are simple reasons why research has an impact on our lives. First, research increases the quality of life. Basic research has led to some of the most commercially successful and life-saving discoveries of the past century, including the laser, vaccines and drugs, and the development of radio and television. Second, research empowers us with knowledge. We get to know the way of nature and how our actions affect it. We gain a deeper understanding of people and why they do things they do. Best of all, we get to enrich our lives with the latest knowledge of health, nutrition, technology, and business, among others, preventing COVID-19 infection. Lastly, research drives progress forward. Thanks to scientific research, modern medicine can cure diseases like tuberculosis and malaria. We've been able to simplify vaccines, diagnosis, and treatment across the board. Even COVID-19, a novel disease, could be studied based on what is known about the SARS coronavirus. Now, the vaccine Pfizer and biotech have been working on has proven 90% effective at, preventing COVID-19 infection. Well, I know that you may still have other questions about today's discussion, but don't worry, your subject teacher will be willing to address them tomorrow during your follow-up discussion. For your additional worksheets and activities, please refer to your module, and you may answer the following. What I know, what's new, task 1, make a match, task 2A, stretch your understanding, task 2B, dig deeper, under week 1 with the topic, technical terms in research. With that being said, let me remind you of DepEd Valenzuela's battle cry. Ano man ang sitwasyon, tuloy ang edukasyon. This has been Sir Rainier reminding you to stay home, stay safe, and save lives. Thank you, and have a great day ahead.